Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And I'd like to do a card reading on the situation, the fire in Notre Dame that occurred on the 15th of April. I do have some theories myself about not so much, whether the fire was set or it's an accident. That's not really, I feel like there's more information in the symbology of the whole thing. Of course, we know that France has been having its issues with the yellow vests. Macron is sort of up against it. And, as everybody is, right? There is the fight between the more progressive side and the more conservative side of things. And of course, not only is Notre Dame the heart of France, really, Paris is the heart of France, and Notre Dame is the heart of Paris. And so, this is a wound to the heart, really, of France and its country and its culture. Also, the Catholic Church is in a state as well, going through a transformational process. So all of this transformation seems to have manifested itself in the partial destruction of a church that's been around since the 13th century, right? The 1200s. Okay. So I'm cutting the cards, and we'll see what these cards show us. I'll be doing a Celtic cross. I'm going to bring this down so you can actually see me as I pull the cards. And hopefully this is a good enough. I'm just going to move this a little bit further back, and hopefully, hope you don't get seasick from that. Okay. The immediate environment, we have the Star. So this is the card of hope, the heart, the card of inspiration. We have this beautiful woman pouring the water on the earth and pouring the water on the water. This is a healing card. This card is associated with Aquarius. Okay, let's see what's crossing it. The Ace of Cups is crossing it. I'm going to put all the cards down and then see what comes up. At the root, we have the Ten of Wands. Okay. In the past, the Emperor. It's interesting because Emperor Napoleon was, I think, coronated in Notre Dame. So there's its past right there. In the sky, the Ace of Wands. That's good. The immediate future, the Eight of Swords. Okay. How it's seen from the outside, the World card. The domestic situation, the Ten of Swords, yes. Okay. Hopes and fears, the Fool. Okay. Outcome, the Tower. Wow, the lightning struck tower. Look at that. Look at that. Holy crap. Okay, let's see what's underneath. We have the Prince of Pentacles underneath. Okay. So, this is, so the immediate environment, we have the Star card, right? And this is about inspiration. It's about healing. It is an Aquarius card, so it is about, it is a card about humanity. And what's interesting is that there's so many, since this burned down, there's so many people from all over the world donating to rebuild Notre Dame. It's sort of a worldly effort. And there are plenty of things in the world that people could be donating their money to. It's very interesting that they're donating their money to a Catholic church, seen as the Catholic Church is one of the richest institutions there is. They certainly in what they own as far as art and architecture and property. So they're very well off in that respect, but they are having some financial difficulties because of all the suits, because of the sexual abuse scandal, right? So there's that. But so they're being drained somewhat. But this really is more the energy of hope and inspiration. What's crossing it is the Ace of Cups. And the Ace of Cups is generally a cup of happiness and joy, and that the fact that it and unconditional love and sort of the love of sort of God coming down and peace, the dove of peace coming down, but it's crossing, and so this is, I would say, to a certain extent, there's sadness. Of course, people were really. It was a sad day for the French. It was a sad day for the world, as something so beautiful and so old and so ancient could go up in flames. So this is really the sadness around the destruction of Notre Dame as it was. What's underneath the deck is underneath the reading is very interesting. This is the Ten of Wands, and of course the Ten of Wands is a fire card, right? So fire. And we have this person, and they're walking. They have all these wands in their hand, and they're sort of walking up. This is the burden bearer. So there's a certain burden here. I believe that this is symbolic of the burden of the past actions of the church, and how is the this could be symbolic of the Pope here with all the issues that he has. He has to reach the top here. He's got to go up these stairs, and so we have these wands, which is all the things on their mind. So I feel like this is the burden that the Catholic Church is bearing right now, and it's not a burden that wasn't earned in that respect. In that respect, fire is often the sexual energy, right? And so not knowing how to work with or have a healthy relationship to the sexual energy of life has been a real burden to the Catholic Church, and a burden to the people who have been raised Catholic and brought through the Catholic Church. A lot of suffering because of that, and a lot of suffering to the feminine, which is interesting because Notre Dame means Our Lady. In the past, we have the Emperor card. As I said, Notre Dame was where Napoleon was coronated. There's a lot of history there. So that's the past of kings, the past of emperor, the past of the masculine being in charge, large and in charge as it was. What's in the sky? We have the Ace of Wands. So it's at the root, we have the 10, and in the sky we have the 8. The sky card is what is available to us. And this is definitely a card of rebirth. This is a card of rebirth. It's an ace, so it's new beginnings. We see all these yods coming down. These are messages from Spirit. Okay. So this is very much sort of a new beginning, rising from the ashes of the phoenix. So the opportunity for rebirth is up there. The immediate environment. This feels to me, the immediate future. This is 6 weeks out. This is trying to figure out what happened and having to be very careful. It's like they're going to be sifting through the dark. What happened, right? So this is trying to figure out how it happened, why it happened. Is anybody really to blame? They said it wasn't a terrorist act. They said it was probably some sort of mistake. Who's going to be held responsible for that mistake? Yada, yada, yada. So that's just the mundane of this. But for me, this card also indicates we have a woman who is blindfolded and tied up. She has gotten past most of the swords in her way. She only has a little bit further to go. This to me is the divine feminine. The divine feminine finding its way out from 8 of Swords. 8 of Swords can be fear, the inability to speak, being held back, being a prisoner. I feel like the feminine is being, it was almost like a funeral pyre to the patriarchy, quite frankly. And that's what it felt like to me. How it's seen from the outside, we have the World card. This is beginnings and endings. So the people from the outside see it as an ending and a new beginning, perhaps a new birth. This is also the world working together. So there are a lot of people all over the world who want to support the rebuilding of Notre Dame. The domestic situation, this would be France. They are feeling the loss, the death of the old, the death of something. something that perhaps was very sacred to them. And yet in the background we have the dawn coming. So there is no death without rebirth. That's the truth of this card. And again, we have the swords. And swords are all about the way we think about things, right? Our mental constructs. And so this is the end of a way of thinking, okay? A way of thinking. Hopes and fears, of course, we have the Fool. We're hoping for a new beginning. We're hoping for a whole new start. But not only a whole new start, but on a whole new level. So something new coming in. Something maybe not even ever considered before. Or at least as long as Notre Dame has been up. And then we have the Outcome card. And we have the Tower. And the Tower card is... is this lightning strike up here is spirit. And what the Tower card does is spirit comes down and breaks down any of the facades or any of the structures that no longer serve. So on some level, that roof for that church no longer served. The spire no longer served. And it's time for that to come down. And this is an opportunity for France, for the church, for Catholics everywhere, and maybe for all of us to look at, what you build and what you say you are is often facades of who you truly are. And who you truly are is spirit incarnate. And so we need to realize who we truly are. And there's no building really that can hold that, right? We have bodies that hold that. And we need to be in harmony. Spirit, mind, body, and soul all needs to be in harmony. And we won't have the need for spirit to sort of come in and blow the top off of things. It's very interesting. This actually even looks like a church, if you can see it. This particular tower looks like a church. And so this is a shock. But it is an awakening. This is to wake us up. And this is an opportunity for new information from spirit to come down. And so we need to be open. We need to be open to a new way of being, a new way of thinking. Okay, so let me pull this up. Here we go. So to me, this really feels like a rebirth of Our Lady. As if, the Notre Dame is beautiful as it is, and I'm not saying I'm not happy. I cried watching it. It was a painful thing. I mean, even things that symbolize, there's so much beauty, but on the other side of that, centuries and centuries of abuse of women, really. And, not just women, but the feminine for sure, the disempowering of the feminine. The fact that so many people want to help says to me that, and I was having this discussion with my husband, and I said, I think if it was like named the Church of St. Peter or St. Paul or St. George, it wouldn't be the same. But Notre Dame is Our Lady, right? And so it's the mother, it's Mother Mary, the heart and soul of the church. But the heart and soul of the church, the women in the Catholic Church have never been empowered, and not really. And so I feel like this is the death of the old patriarchal structures and then the birth of the new. Now, is the Catholic Church going to change in that way? I don't know. But certainly the energy is shifting and the energy is changing, and I feel like this is an expression of that. So very interesting reading. It kind of aligns with some of the things I was thinking about. There's a lot of love out there. And, it's not all... there's a lot of love out there. The structures that have held us, to quote Game of Thrones, the crown and the church are the twin pillars on which everything stands. Of course, now we'd have to include what we have: the crown, we have, which would be the government, right? The church, and the corporations, right? But really, it's the people. It's the people. And it's time for a change. It's time for renewal. And Notre Dame gave up her roof and her spire. And whatever is built in its place is going to be built in a new energy, because we're in a new energetic time when the feminine is rising. If you think of when that church started to be built, you know, it was one of the heights of patriarchy. So love is alive and well. Our Lady is alive and well, and Notre Dame will rise again, perhaps better and stronger for having gone through the experience of death and rebirth. Okay, I hope you find this reading helpful. Like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Take care.